a short walkthrough, maybe on the recent Decide CTF that maybe most of you participated. I don't know if Nancy's in the meeting. Let me check. No? Okay, so I think we'll start right away. Lawrence, you can take over.
Thank you so much, Tony. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you're perfect.
Awesome. So allow me just to put on a video in case anyone is wondering who's the guy behind this. Okay. That should be more or less be okay. Okay, so my name is Lawrence Mchilwa. I will be taking guys through this session. So if you want to be part of this, there's a link I'm going to share to our CyberRangers instance. We have, in case you don't have this link, we have 10 available slots. So I just ensure you quickly click on that link, create an account if you don't have an account, and join that particular lobby. As that is happening, I will be sharing my screen and just giving an overview of what guys can or should expect today. So give me a minute for me to do that. I'm trying to figure out which screen is more appropriate to share without shooting myself in the foot and disclosing things I should not be disclosing. Okay, more or less I have it now. Okay, so I should be able to see my browser, Chrome browser, displaying something besides Nairobi and SheHacks Kenya session. So in today's session, what I'll be doing is focusing mainly on a walkthrough of some of the challenges that we did for the just concluded besides Nairobi challenge. My focus will be on the digital forensics aspect or digital forensics challenges that there are guys who did this walkthrough or this particular challenge through. Now, if you have received the link, just click on it. It should bring you to something close to this. If you have an account, if it brings you here, click on start. If you don't have an account, I just want to ensure you have an account. So you want to click on this if you really want to follow along, be able to execute some of those commands, be able to do the various things we are going to do with Velociraptor. We have 1 hour, we're already 10 minutes, more or less. We have 50 minutes remaining. I would like to use the next 40 minutes for the actual walkthrough. Then the remaining 10 minutes or so just for Q&A. So as guys join, well, I should be able to see it here. So I'm guessing guys are still creating accounts or something of that sort. If you have any challenges, please let me know. So I'll go straight into it. Now, the moment you click start, for majority of you, it might take time. You will see the scenario starting. You will basically see some form of a progress bar. Just give it a few minutes or so for that instance to fully boot. So what will be happening in the background is that if I was to go to the servers tab, all the servers in these challenges are going to be booted. Now, I think, so I see we have an interesting guy spamming everyone on chat. Apologies for that. So for the digital forensics section, we are going to focus mostly on one server. Though if guys are interested, not all servers are shown here. Some of these servers are deliberately hidden, especially for the guys who are doing the Active Directory challenge, guys who are doing the, let me see, the offensive security challenges. But for this case, we'll be focusing on the digital forensics. So To start us off, a bit of introduction from my end. So my name is Lawrence Mchilwa, for guys who don't know me. See, someone is saying this link has requested for gemstones. Just give me a minute for me to check on that. No, it should not request gemstones for you, especially if you have clicked on the link we shared on chat. Now, for my guys from SheHacks who are helping moderate this, there is a guy on chat who's basically spamming us.
Hi, Lawrence. It's Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry about that. I'm actually working on that, so maybe you can just proceed. We'll sort that out.
Okay. So, my name is Lawrence. I'm a cybersecurity operations center manager at a company called Silensec. The same company is responsible for CyberRanges. I'm also a specialist with cyber threat intelligence and incident response. I'm also just trying to get my foot wet when it comes to digital forensics, though I do bits of it as part of my day-to-day work and also as part of CyberRanges. Now, at any point, if you have questions, please let me know. Post it on chat or work with our moderators for that. So I'll jump into the first question. So first question for this challenge should be somewhere at the here. It is question 49. And it's basically asking us when did the attack infection start? We are told to carefully check the logs to identify concrete evidence of the attack. So enter the date and time in this particular format. So the main question here is how do we identify that particular attack? So I'm going to go to my servers tab and request anyone who has access here to click on Velociraptor, open the services, then open the first service web. As it is loading, it will require you to authenticate. Username is admin, password is password. So as Velociraptor authenticates and logs you in, go back to servers and open Wazoo. So I'll just give you guys a minute for that to happen, then I'll come pick it up here. So in case you have any issues, please let me know. Okay, so my Wazoo has loaded. Let me see if I can get my where are you? Should be somewhere here. Velociraptor is here. Okay, so more or less we are okay. Quickly jump on chat, see if there's anyone who needs assistance. So Nancy is here, so Nancy can ping me whenever that happens. So let's go back into the fundamentals of incidents response. First thing you want to know is going back to the question, we are meant to identify when this particular attack happened. So how do you identify when that particular attack happened? There are multiple ways to go about it. So the first approach is that for you to identify that an incident happened, an attack happened, you need logs. So that's the starting point. You need to be able to get those logs. There are multiple ways to get those logs. One, if in that particular organization, they have a SIEM, they have an EDR, you can get logs from using those particular tools. Secondly, if in that organization, you can get an image of the infected system, what people say forensic acquisition. If you can forensically acquire that particular host or that particular server that was compromised, then from that image acquisition, you can do offline analysis. Then the third option is at times you'll go into organizations, and these organizations, one, they can't give you a forensic image for you to acquire. They don't have a SIM or any typical security controls, but they have that physical or that actual host. So in such a case, there are multiple tools you can use where you are basically doing live instant response. So in that case, there's a tool like a Velociraptor you can use. Now these tools allow you to directly interface with that machine and remotely analyze its logs. So one of those tools is a Velociraptor, which will be covering this the next minutes. The other tool, an amazing tool, is a Hayabusa, which allows you to process. Hayabusa allows you to process logs offline, and Hayabusa gives you is similar to the output you'll get with a SIM solution. So if I have time, I might cover Hayabusa. If we don't have time, B-Sides and SheerX, we are working different couple of things. So probably we might have another session where we answer these questions using a Hayabusa. So if you are doing a live incident response where we need to remotely query that particular machine, best tool is a Velociraptor. If that particular organization is sending logs using to a SIM, best case is a best tool to use in this case will be Wazu. Now with those said, you can actually use those two tools, and I will be showing you how to go about that. So let's proceed. So hopefully by now, guys who join the lobby, your lobby has started, you have access to Wazu. Now if you don't have access to Wazu, maybe there is a way I can help you get access to Wazu. Let me see. And you can thank the SheerX team for this. So let me just have a link here that I'm testing whether it will finally load. If it loads, then okay, seems to be loading. Okay, if the lobby slots are full, there is a bit.ly link I've shared. If you click on that link, it will bring you, it will load a Wazu instance. Hopefully it will load a Wazu instance for you. So once Wazu loads, we'll have I'm not going to go through the nut and bolts of Wazu, but once it loads, what you want to do is click on security events, because all the logs you're going to get are under security events. Then click on events. So I'll just repeat. So once Wazu loads, this is the page you'll get. You want to click on security events, then disregard the dashboard, then you want to click on events. Now events will load for you everything Wazu has collected. And now we can start with the actual incident response. I don't know if chats is enabled, but question to everyone. The question on the range says, when did the attack start? How do you actually identify when the attack started? Anyone with an idea that they can post on chat in regards to how do you know, or how do you actually pinpoint that this is when the attack started? We don't know if this attack happened in the last 15 minutes. We don't know if this attack happened in the last hour, last 3 days. When did this particular attack start? That is usually the main challenge when you are responding to an incident, because if your time range is very minimal, there's a high risk that you'll miss out on a lot of events. So if you specify events for last 1 day and the attack started maybe 3 months, you're going to miss out things. If you specify last 4 months and the attack started maybe only 2 days ago, then now you have a lot of events that need to go through. If you ask me, C. Collins says you query for local and network admins, okay? So if you ask me, there's some aspect of experience and all that. And also if you ask me, incident response is not your typical entry-level job. It requires a lot of underlying knowledge, a bit of experience that you pick up, which will actually help you more or less make an informed guess whether to go 3 days or 4 days. In this case, I'm going to go with the last 1 year. Sorry, last 1 year. Just to get time to share my methodology. What is the attack we are referring to? So at this moment, we actually don't know of that attack, but we just know that an attack happened. So how do you know an attack happened? One, I'm trying to, actually, how do you know an attack has happened? One of the reasons why I said it's not an entry job is, you know, an attack has happened, one, from alerts. Now, not all alerts will give you an indicator of attack. Some alerts will be helpful, but they're not always helpful. So if your SIEM is not tuned in correctly to identify that attack, you might miss on alerts. Then the other thing is with incident response, you rely on alerts, and also you rely on your own analytical thinking, analytical reasoning, and your experience. Now, for me, majority of this experience has actually been gained from reading reports. So when you hear, for example, let me see what company was compromised. When you hear, pick an example, company XYZ has been compromised. So Mandiant has been compromised, Trailix has been compromised. When we hear about one crime, we have organizations that actually write those reports, do a breakdown, including even the target organizations themselves, do a breakdown of how that particular attack happened. So by reading that particular breakdown, it can give you insights in regards to, so when I hear over Follina, this is how Follina attack looks like. If I'm going to analyze it, this is what I should be watching for. So for example, one of the most common attack we know is phishing, where someone is sent a malicious mail, they click on that mail, and the attacker gets access. Now, if you look at most reports, and I've just shared a link, the DFR report, if you're a SOC analyst, someone interested in this field, the DFR report website is an amazing knowledge base. Create time and just periodically go through that. So coming back to our incident. So one of the most common way most organizations are compromised is usually via phishing. So someone will be sent a phishing mail, they'll click on that mail, a payload is executed, a vulnerability is executed, and the attacker gains initial foothold. Now, how are most phishing payloads delivered? One, previously it was a maldocs, either what? A malicious Word document, a malicious Excel file. Of late, you are seeing a lot of ISO file, previously even zipped file. So with incident response, having that in mind, and just if you ask me, incident response is a very good mix of educated, informed guesses, not guessing out of the blue, but using research, available literature, your experience, to more or less know what the attacker might have done. So knowing what an attacker might have done can help you also anticipate or have a rough roadmap over areas you need to look for. So I'll be using that particular approach. So on WASU, we are seeing a lot of events, which is okay. So I'll minimize these. Now, Windows, also I'll go ahead and just say for this particular machine, it's a Windows machine. So to get events from Windows, more or less you'll be getting events from Windows Event Viewer or Sysmon. So one of the things I love doing, especially if I have access to their log management interface, their SIEM, is to basically search for Sysmon. Now, if they have Sysmon installed, then it greatly reduces the amount of work I have to do. And as you can see, we have Sysmon. So under rule description, we see we have a Windows Sysmon event ID1, which is awesome. So I can click on the first event, expand it, and just go through it. So more or less I understand what is here. So what I want to do is, if I remove this Sysmon keyword here, so this is the Wazoo search field. If I remove the Sysmon keyword here, I'm going to get a lot of events. So I need to come up with a way of filtering only for Sysmon events. Now, if you don't know what Sysmon is, might be a good time for you just to Google around. I'll still share some links on it. But basically, Sysmon enriches Windows events and gives you better visibility compared to Windows standard logs. So searching for this particular keyword, I get a lot of logs. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'll drill down into each event. What I'm interested in is a way of filtering only for Sysmon related logs. If you're wondering how this happens, I also know that the amazing team at Shiax has multiple blogs on Sysmon. I think the latest blog I saw was by Restacuta, amazing analyst. So you just might want to check out their blog site and more or less start playing with Sysmon. And on CyberRanges, you can always have access to search tools. I'll share a small secret. Be friends with Nancy. She has a way around making people do her bidding. And you just might find yourself having access to CyberRanges. So I'm going to scroll down through all the fields that are available here. So we have the ID index, all that. The field I'm interested in is this particular field here, event channel. This particular here, this field here. Data win system channel. I'm being told these events are coming from Microsoft Windows Sysmon operational. So all events coming from these are Sysmon related. Now, if you want to find out other events that are, so if you want to find out other system event channels, what you can do here is I can visualize this field. So let me go back. Well, this was not meant to be a Wazoo walkthrough, but it is what it is. So on this walkthrough, sorry, on this page, we have time. We have some fields, 5 fields. We have time, agent ID, rule description, rule level, and rule ID. Then we have these other additional fields. So if I want to visualize any field here, I can highlight on that field and click on this toggle column in table. So I'm interested on this particular field. So if I toggle this field and come back here, then I can see all the fields here. Now, if I remove Sysmon here, just so that you have an idea of what else you can see, you'll be able to see security, Sysmon, blah, 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 all those fields. Now, Windows typically saves its events in mostly 3 categories, at least 3 categories. So we have security. All Windows related security events will end up there. We have application, all application logs in quotes will end up there. Then we have system, which will have system logs. So in our case, we are only interested in Sysmon. Now, to filter for this event, the easiest way is to filter for any column. Go to that column and click on. So if you go to that column, there are these 2 icons that will be displayed. There's a zoom in, zoom out. So if I want to filter for get only events that are from Sysmon, I'll click on the zoom in, the magnifier with plus. And once I click on that, if I go at the top here, then I will see now we have this particular filter. That's the easiest way. The other way is click on add filter. And if you know the right field, then just type the field here select your operator, and same thing happens. So I'm using the more efficient way, not lazy way, efficient way. Then once I do this, now I know I have Sysmon events. The other thing I love doing is just cleaning up. So I will remove the rule level, rule ID. They don't really offer meaningful assistance to me. Then given that I know which logs I want, I'll go to explore agent. Now agents are machines that are connected to your SIEM and sending logs. If you are sure, because at times in incident response, your scope is limited. Rarely though, because it's an incident, you actually at times you don't know what you should be looking for. So you progressively build your analysis. You find machine A was infected, you try to find was machine B also infected. But in this case, we are working only with the workstation 2. So if I want to get only logs from workstation 2, so I'll go to explore my agent. I have only 2 agents here, so just click on the right agent, and now I have only logs from workstation 2. So for Sysmon, Sysmon has multiple IDs. Yes, Charity, we have Sysmon for Linux. I think it was dropped sometime this year, early this year. So yes, there is Sysmon for Linux. So with Sysmon, Sysmon has specific events, and those events have their meaning. So I've just shared a blog from Black Hill InfoSec. They do a solid job explaining those event IDs. Now, the event IDs I will typically focus on when I'm doing my analysis are event ID 1 for process creation and event ID 3 for network connection. Why do I do this? If anyone knows why I typically do this, please feel free to comment in the chat box. So why I do this is because if you're infected with anything, a malware, ransomware, potentially unwanted programs, almost anything, most of these malwares will create a process. And the event ID, Sysmon event ID for process creation is event ID 1. So 1, I can filter for this. So I don't like filtering using rule description. So what I typically do is go to the event, locate the field that is for event ID 1. Here it is, data win system event ID, and filter for it. And now I will get only event ID 1. Now, something you might have picked up. When we started off, we started with a million events. When we did the Sysmon filter, probably reduced from 1 million to maybe 500,000. Now, filtering for event ID 1 brings us to 541. So also with digital incident responses, specifically incident response, you want to also reduce a subset of events you're working with, especially if your duration is 1 year. It will make your work and life easier. So once you've figured out Sysmon event ID 1, the next thing you want to do is you want to refine your display. So right now, we are only displaying the timestamp, agent ID, rule description, and the system channel. I'll go ahead. Even agent ID, I don't really need it because I'm already filtering for this specific workstation 2. So now let's refine our search, our dashboard. Let's introduce some additional fields that you want to see, especially when you are talking over process creation. So the easiest thing I do, like if you haven't done this, the easiest thing to start doing is 1, you want to be able to visualize a command line. So command line will tell you the actual command that was executed. And why is that important? Let's get someone to do this in chat. It's important to visualize command line. Then the other field you want to visualize is event image. So command line tells us the command that was executed. Event data image tells us the image, the executable. So let's visualize that. Then you can also visualize original file name. But go through those processes, the fields, and try to visualize which fields are of importance to you, which field will help you easily pick things out. So there we go. So we have all these. Okay. Now I can easily browse and figure out, okay, I see RunDLL32 was executed. I see, you can see all this. It's easier for the eye. Now, going back to our initial hypothesis, we talk of phishing. When we talked of phishing, we mentioned that one of the way, or some of the payloads used in phishing will be Word, Maldoc, Excel, Maldocs. Now, if you're talking of Excel Maldocs, for you to run an Excel Maldoc, what is going to run it in your system? It will be, what will it be actually? Definitely Office Excel. If it's Word, we are going to run with Microsoft Word. So have that particular in mind. Now, if it's going to execute anything, now if we go back to and focus on a command line. So command line is going to tell you the executable that was used to execute something. And forgive my English, the something that was executed. So if Excel is going to open a Word document, so we expect some form of the executable for Word, and I expect, and now you should expect. So if Word is going to execute something, it will give you, the command line will give you the program that executed, was responsible for execution, and the file that was executed. So in my case, if I opened a file, a maldoc named tom.docx, docx being the extension for Word, or docm, then this command line right here will have something, Word tom.docm, which is good because it tells me what I should look for. So the first thing I'm going to run is, so how do you search now? How do we search for anything Word document related using command line? So we can copy this field here. So it's tell Wazu. Now go to the data.twin.command line field and give us anything. I'm going to use wildcard, anything that has that ends with .doc, then asterisk here. So what this is going to do is going to, it's basically using regex. So let me see. Okay, prefer using this guy over here. So I'm just opening a regex filter to show, to at least show you guys what you're going for. So my regex is anything doc, anything that ends with doc. So anything that ends, that has these 4 characters, a dot, a full stop, and a DOC, which means if I have a document that says whatever it's saying, or tingisha muti.doc, my regex should match this and give me a result. What is not happening here? So test match. Okay, so I'm having demo codes. Let me see if there's anything here. The regex. Okay. I can do this also. Yes. So now with this filter, I'm searching for anything as long as it has these 3 characters. So regardless of the file name, I should get a hit. If it has a docm, so if a Word document has a malicious, it has macros, or it's not all documents that have macros are malicious documents. In most cases, they are, especially if you're receiving them from a host, from a sender that you don't know. Most cases, they will be a maldoc. So they will have this extension, docm. So if I had, sorry, so this is my filter. So even here, if it was a docm, I should still get a hit. So going back to Wazu, so this should hopefully give us a hit. So I click on search, and interesting. We have results. We have results, which is a good thing. So coming back, how did I know it was a doc? One, reading reports. Secondly, for experience. Actually, first, getting the right professional training. Secondly, reading reports. So you can read reports, get the right you can read reports if you can afford training from I don't want to say the usual suspects. So if you can't afford training, because I know DFRI training can be expensive. So if you can't afford training, for example, I wasn't able to afford most of those training when I was starting up. So I relied on reading documents, reading walkthroughs, and just being informed. So you have those 3 ways of knowing this. So, okay, we have hits. What if this guy was also using maybe Excel file? So with what? With how do I say? With Wazu, you can also use OR. So you just type OR, repeat the exact same thing. Say Excel document, usually Excel, thinks something of that sort. You can refine it. Then how else do you usually get executables? Some of them can have DLLs. So DLL, some of them can have batch script. So make your query as specific and as generic as possible. Then let's run this, see if we'll get any additional hits apart from 3. We have 3 hits. So with these, and now, we have 31 hits. Okay. So with 31, the sample set is small enough for you to start working on. So one easy way for you to actually start doing this is now start going through first your timestamp. Our time range here was 1 year. And right now we are seeing all the logs you are getting are actually from July 14th. From 14th, from this date, from this time, 9 is 9 minus 2, that will be from 7. Okay, which means, well, if it's up to you, you can go back to your time range and refine these. And from 1 year to maybe to this specific date, and start again from scratch. That now the time range you're working with is minimal. So what you're going to do is first, you want to go with the low-hanging fruits. Now, some of these executable, you might already, some of these executable, you'll actually know that these are false positives. No need to worry about them. So I'll go back into this field, into that event, try to identify if there's anything that can help me figure out a way of reducing noise. So this might be identifying the owner who executed this, how many times this event has been fired, so on and so forth. So I won't dwell into that. We have 31 events, so can drill down. So I see a lot of run DLL. So I'll just try to do a look here and try figure out what things are not standard here. What I typically do is I will filter out events that I feel might be noisy. I will come back to them. If I don't find anything, I will go back. So I will filter this RunDLL. RunDLL gets executed within the system non-maliciously most of the time, though a few times it can be maliciously used. So I will discard it. And now I see, okay, Notepad. In most systems, you'll get Notepad a lot of time. But now I see Notepad. Then if I look at the command line, I actually see that Notepad is being executed. And we have a file called dropper.bat. Interesting. Then I come here and see, okay, we have CMD. And I'm seeing CMD is also running dropper.bat. Okay, interesting. Then I also see CMD executing this dropper file. Okay. So actual incident response, I will be noting down these parts, these files, are getting those hashes, getting the files, the images that are responsible for them. So we have CMD. We also have PowerShell. Now, what is PowerShell doing? I see PowerShell here. So I will definitely pick this. So, and just investigate. So let me even do this. So we have a Notepad. Let's do a drill down into this. Can we get more information? Nothing really much here. Okay. I see a bit of hashes. I see Notepad. Anything I can get here under system image. Okay. I see the user here, admin. Okay. So is the administrator opening Notepad and a dropper.file? Like this, these are red flags. So it should be firing something in your mind because, okay, it's weird. You don't, most files, especially most malicious payload, they will have a dropper name. It's rarely for you to find a file named dropper. A file named dropper, but it happens. So I will take note of dropper. I will want to acquire this file and basically try to analyze and see what was happening there. What else do I have here? Another instance of dropper. I saw a bit of PowerShell. So I will take PowerShell, see what this PowerShell is all about. So it's just PowerShell. So have 10 minutes remaining. Wow. So let me actually open my Notepad and see whether we can focus on a few things and obsess over them. So we have this PowerShell. If you have a test machine, feel free to run that. So we have taken note of that. What else? Also taken note of the directory it was executed in. Okay, anything else here? Nothing much. I saw something that was being executed. This file being called here. So I will also take just note this down because a lot of digital forensics incident review, you get a lot of data. So your ability to document later is ability to document so that you can use this information later to connect those dots. Very important. Okay, anything else? I see Word being executed. So WinWord, and I see the file here is download subcity template.docm. Okay. Okay. I don't know what this file is. So I'm going to take its path. So taking its path because I would like to actually forensically acquire that file and just go through it to figure out, is it a malicious file? If I get the hash, can I submit that hash to VirusTotal? Has it been flagged? I see another instance of Dropper here. The other thing now we'll note here is, initially we had admin as the user. Now I'm seeing Jendo, same document. I'm also seeing curl being used, and it seems curl is downloading something. Interesting. Now, the other thing that is always very important for you to pick is and sort out, actually should have mentioned this earlier, is the flow of events. So if you look at my timestamp here, it's giving me the latest event, then going back to the earliest event. I usually prefer the other way around. I prefer starting from the earliest event and going back to the latest event. So we see earliest event here happened at on May. So we don't really have anything. Only one event is happening in May. Most of these events are happening on June. So okay, so we have June 13th. curl was used to download a file. Then once this file was downloaded, we have what being used to download this file. Then immediately, not immediately, well, more or less technically immediately. Why? Look at this time zones, time here. So curl is running at midnight, 1 minute past midnight. Then a minute later, we have word opening this document, Jendo, or a user under the Jendo profile opening this maldoc. Then 10 seconds later, we have PowerShell being executed, okay? After PowerShell, still same duration, we have CMD being executed on a dropper. Then 3 minutes later, we now see admin executing, same thing. Interesting. Now, at this point, and in the interest of time, more or less, we have a logical flow of what might have happened. Definitely, a malicious, at this point, we don't know actually it's a malicious file, but what we know is a user, and we can, hopefully in the next session, we'll drill this down. A user used curl to download a file from this URL. Even this URL is weird, dearmeat.fly. Interesting. So docm file was downloaded. That docm file opened by Word. Almost immediately, PowerShell is loading and PowerShell is downloading dropper.dt. Now, if these were executed by the same user, we might be onto something, which actually might be the next case. Can we get the user? I see here, we can see current directory. So are this being executed by the same, in the same directory or what? Alas, you see, we have parent user. So are this being executed by the same user? So let's come back and see. And can actually see all of these are tagged Jendo, Jendo, Jendo. Okay, interesting. So we identified 3 artifacts, or what people will say indicators of compromise so far. So we have dropper.bat, we have this dearmeat.fly, and we have a subsidy template. Easiest thing to do is, if you have a lab, why not go to that URL and try to download that. If you have a lab and you have a machine that you use for such, I won't recommend you doing this on your actual machine. Things might not work out greatly for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to search for that particular domain. Dear me, to see what does Google have on it. Okay, we have some images. Anything else that we have? Nothing much via Google. Definitely, you can still drill down on it. Now, next place I want to go is use a bit of threat intelligence. So we can use VirusTotal. VirusTotal. Then we have OTX from AlienVault. So VirusTotal URL. Let's put that URL. Okay, let's put the full URL. Will we get anything? So as it's loading, let's come to VirusOTX. Try search for it. I usually prefer starting with the generic name, then just drilling down. So nothing. Okay, I see some pulses here, passive DNS. Maybe something might not be something. Okay. And now when I click on it, am I getting anything? Analysis, unknown, nothing much here. If I come to related pulses, I see that it's been flagged in other pulses. So pulses are more or less reports that guys have submitted on OTX. It might be an indicator of where that particular URL has been flagged. So you can go through these and just try to identify what's happening. But I see a lot of Sharkworm, Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. So you can do a bit of what? You can do a bit of OSINT or Google Doc just to identify more about that particular URL. Aim here is for us to actually check whether that URL is malicious or not. So if we search only with the domain name, VirusTotal, not flagging it. If I come back here, is OTX as more or less same results. But here now, I find something here. So we actually had this URL live at some point on this particular date. Not much is known about it. If we come back to Google and just try to Google for it again as a domain, can we find anything? Okay. Now I see Sharkworm from Symantec has something on this. OTX has something on this. So it's a instant response. So you're trying to get as much data and information as you can to help you build, validate your hypotheses, and just help you understand what actually might have happened here. So more or less, we have the first artifact. Have an understanding of it. At least for guys following this, you can pick that up. Now, the second artifact we need to get is this dropper file. And this dropper file is being written in this directory here. Now, to do that, best tool for that is Velociraptor. So for guys, and this is probably going to be the last, I'll stop after the Velo page. So for guys who have accessed Velociraptor, well and good. I'm trying to see if I have any of those additional links for guys who need to access Velociraptor. You know what? I'm going to share my link, and I'm hoping, well, I know Velo should allow multiple connection. So anyone who is interested to access Velociraptor, jump in there authenticate. Username is admin, password is password. So Velociraptor is a digital forensic tool, allows you to remotely query Workstation if you don't have a SIEM. So if you don't have, if we didn't have Wazo, there are different ways I would have gone with this investigation. But now I'm leveraging what Wazo has and bringing it back to Velociraptor. Now, the main difference is as much as Wazo has told me where these files are maybe are probably downloaded, I can't remotely acquire it using Wazo. So I either need field access to that machine or an image to that particular machine or Velociraptor. So we'll go to Velociraptor. Velociraptor has what we call hunts. Hunts are used to find information, to actually hunt. You tell Velociraptor, this is what I want. Look for it, and magic happens. So let's go figure out our first hunt. And in the next session, fingers crossed, we'll have another session. I'll actually take you through what or how Velo operates. But for this, in the interest of time, we'll go with hunts. So click on this icon right here to configure a first hunt. I do have some existing hunt. So here, to configure your hunt, then click on the plus sign to create a new hunt, give it a name. So given that for this hunt, we are getting a specific file. So I'm just going to give it an appropriate name. So fetch, but actually it's always good to give a meaningful name, because at the end of the day, you might have a lot of hands. So names, descriptions will make it easier for you to quickly identify those hands and also help your team members to pick up from where you left. Though rarely happens. Incident response, most of the guys, you want to do that. The various teams typically do their own analysis, because incident response is also an art. I have a very specific way of approaching problems. If someone else was to jump in, high chance they will struggle. But meaningful description is like commenting on code. If you comment your code well, someone else will easily pick it up. So then exclude condition. Here we are specifying what do you want to search for. I'll say match by label. I already have my labels. I'll say workstation. Once I've done with this description, I select artifact. Now, Velo artifacts are predefined. Think of them as predefined queries or templates that allow Velociraptor to do certain activities. So if you want to remotely search for a file, there is an artifact called file something, file finder, or what? Oh yeah. These things are also commands will escape your times. Yes. File, yeah, it was actually file finder. So Velo supports multiple systems. So as you can see, if I was to look for search.file finder very specific, I can either search a Linux, Mac, or Windows. We know our system is Windows. So you select the Windows artifact. Velo gives you a description of how to use it. So I'll just skip over it. So once you select the artifact, you need to configure its parameters. Where are you? Okay. Okay, so configure parameters. Then I click on this gearbox and specify search file globe. Search file globe is where do I want to search for these files? So we already have something similar. So I think this was what we had. So this is the exact path. Now I will be creative and tell Velo that. Don't go into that specific path. Go through all the paths under users. Why are we going through all the paths under users? Because the way Windows does its management, user management, you have the file, the directory C, then under C, you will have users. Then under these users, you will have the various users you have in that system. So you'll have admin user, we'll have our agenda user, all that. So I want Velo to go through all those files, and as it's going through all those files, give me, so let me paste it here, search for this particular file, dropper.bat. So I'll use wildcard. So give me anything that has dropper.bat. So you can play around with the search globe to do what? To refine your search, but for me, this is enough. So I want to search all directories under users for this particular pattern, dropper.bat. Then I'll tell Velo, upload the file. Oh, you can still use Yara if you know the various Yara indicators, or you have a Yara rule that you want to apply. Come to that back later. So I say, if you find any file that matches this, upload it. Then I'll also tell Velo to calculate the hash. I can play around with the timestamp. These are more or less should be enough. Then in this case, I won't specify resources. Resources basically means, do you want this hunt to run with maybe 1 GB of RAM or 20 GB of RAM? So this should be okay. So I'll just go straight and say launch. When you launch, your hunt is not run immediately. So you need to actually it. So where was it? So it is here, a fetch artifact. Okay, no guys are sharing my instance. So I'm actually trying to wonder which one was mine. Okay, so I guess it's this. I will click on it, right click. I will click on it. Once I've clicked on it, click on play to run the hunt. So are you sure you want to run this? Then run it. So as it is running, you see the state changes, and down here, I can see how many hands it's working. So I only had one client, so I can also in real time see how many clients have been scanned, how many are continuing. I get those kind of statistics. So I see it's finished. Once it's finished, what else do I want to do? From here, I can go to request if you want just to see a little bit of information. In most cases, we have guys who will go to notebook. So notebook basically gives you the findings. So we can see our findings here. So it goes to the file. Here it is. We can see additional input about this file, the hashes and all that. So we have guys who enjoy doing this, especially if you have watched the talk. There's a talk I shared on my Twitter by Eric, I believe Capuano, amazing team at Recon InfoSec. So I know for Eric, he prefers going the client approach, not the client approach. Yes, notebook approach. Then from the notebook, well, he's good at what he does, better than me. He does some magic in regards to how this query was created. I believe there is a place where you can edit the query. Where is it? So just to briefly touch on it. Velo uses a language called VHSQL. It's basically some form of SQL. So you can modify that SQL and determine which fields are going to be displayed here. Next session will capture that. Now, what I prefer doing is I'll come to the client and just go to the flow ID. Now, from the flow ID, remember we said files will be uploaded. If I come to the uploaded file, I will have my uploaded file, and I can click on this file. If I click on it, it's going to be, well, I can't download it, so I can't say download to my malware file. Download it there. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want to name it a bat file. I'll call it mal, so that I don't accidentally execute it. It's a very good thing to actually get used to. If you are trying to be dangerous and using your day machine to do this, always rename these files so that you don't accidentally execute it. So I call it drop a bat, give it a different name. Okay, like it's okay to change this into purple. Like I have no issues with that. Purely okay. So anyway, so we have downloaded that file. So I'm going to go to my malware folder, identify that file. I already have it. Then once I have it, I will drag it to. Let me see if I can open it. Why can't I drag it here? Let me see if I can. So I basically want to drag it into my notepad and try see if notepad will be able to actually, I know notepad will be able to open it. Okay, so here we go. So now I have that bat file opened. So if you don't know what a bat file is, a bat file, it's basically a batch script that is used to automate Windows functionality. It's bash, but for Windows. So we saw this batch file was being dropped. Once, I believe, once you open the maldoc, it was being dropped, and it was doing interesting things. So going through it, I can now start seeing interesting things. So this batch file, when executed, it's going to run net user command. Net user command is used to add users. It's going to add this user. This is the password. Adding this user to what? To the administrators group, specifying the user. Then I see some bits admin being executed. Still dear meat. Okay. Now I see another file being downloaded. Wajakora. So whoever did this was a Tingisha Mutifan seems. So we see another file being downloaded. Now, recall, if we go back to what? I'm not sure if Labu Amajit is here. Told me that it's not Wazo, it's Waza. If we go back to Waza, tempted really to say Waza. If we go back to Waza, we don't see the file that we just have picked it up. Which we don't see any indicators of certain file here. So there's no support.tar. Let me see. There's no mm.txt. There's no support.txt. So by leveraging the previous information we had going through at this particular file, we have actually identified more indicators of compromise. So we should look for support.tar. Going through this bits admin, probably you want to look for support.txt. Anything else? I see there's also something here being put in the temporary folder, source.txt. No, support.txt again. And then I see there's a file also being started here using app installer, mm.txt. This guy was trolling us. So the point here is we started off identifying doc, XLS, batch file. We picked the batch, we picked the cal, we picked the document file, we picked the batch file. We have done analysis on the batch file, found some interesting information. Next task for guys interested, try to see if you can acquire the subsidy template and do some form of analysis. And hopefully if we have this again from next week, we should be able to pick it up way past time. It's 16 minutes past 8. So I would like to stop there. Now, before I stop there, I know we have a Kali machine on this server. So if you go to Kali, we have these web services here. One of these web service should drop you into Kali machine. Okay, not that. So this one drops you into a web server for guys who are doing the forensics analysis. I see Allstates here, and I know, well, they're having an event over the weekend. So if you want to try some of the challenges that the guys from Freaks came up with, it's a good place to start. So if you want to analyze, to actually safely do that analysis, I will say open what? Open Velociraptor using the Kali machine. So to open Velociraptor using the Kali machine, how will you go about that? Let me see. So this is the URL. So if I copy that URL and come to Wazoo here and I paste it there, I know Velociraptor listens on a specific IP, on a specific port. I can't figure that port at the moment. Let me see if I can quickly look for it. If someone knows the default port, please share with it on the chat. Will be easier. Web interface port. I'm being told is this 888-9. Awesome. Thank you. So you can use this particular approach. So access it using the Kali machine. Then once you access it using the Kali machine, you have your hands, then you can do analysis using Kali. So Kali will have all the tools you require, all the VBA, a few scripts, tools here and there, just to help with your analysis, which minimizes the risk of you infecting your machine. So just circling back, for guys who really want to push the envelope, I'll say challenge yourself, see whether you can remotely acquire this particular file, do analysis on it, then answer the first question. You are asked, when did the attack start? From everything we see that at 1 minute past midnight, Kali was used to download this malicious document. So is this the time this particular attack started, or it might have started earlier? So this is a very good starting point for you to actually start off and see whether you can answer this particular first question. And with that, I would like to come to a conclusion of this aspect. I'm hopeful that maybe next week or so, we'll get time to go to the next question and just pick up from where we have started. Pick up from where we have started. Now, if anyone has any questions they want to ask, please feel free to put them in the chat and I'll try my best to respond to them in the next 5 minutes, then hand this back to the SHIACS team. So how do you access the CyberRanges platform? Very straightforward. So what you want to do is basically go to app.cyberranges.com, create an account, and you should be good to go. It will ask you for some gemstone, and I'll let Nancy respond to anything Cyber Ranges access related, because I know she does a lot of community work in that aspect. So any questions in regards to what you have done so far for today? Please put them in the chat and hand this back to the SheHacks team. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Lawrence, for that engaging session. I think I've also learned a thing or two, definitely. So maybe if there are any questions, you can just have that in the chat. And then we'll be able to answer that. So Kelvin, maybe you can send me an email out maybe how best I can help you. Let me just write my email here. Okay, so just there any other questions, please feel free to ask. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. But thank you, Lawrence. Like he has mentioned, we'll have, I think, a continuous series next Thursday. Because I feel there's so much maybe they would want to know, they would want to ask. So yes, we'll have a follow-up session next week on Thursday. Hopefully, Lawrence will still be available for that. So let me check if there are any questions on YouTube. Just a minute. Okay. Let me check. I think there are no questions even on YouTube, so I think we're good to go. Thank you, Collins, for the feedback. Great session. Looking forward to the follow-up. Awesome session, Chief. Okay, I'm sure that's for Lawrence.
I don't know, lack of question means guys had a good time, or guys are like, what's this guy ranting about? Velo, Wazu. I'm just hoping it was not, guys are not really understanding what was going on, but more or less we did a good job, and breakdown has been good.
Yeah, I believe it was a great session. Nancy had asked you in your inbox. Oh, kindly type it here because I think I can't access my inbox right now. Great session. There's a lot of feedback, Lawrence, as you can see. I've learned a lot.
Kidogo.
No, I think it was just very precise and clear. So looking forward to the next one. So yeah, definitely please clear your Thursday evening as well next week. So she can have a follow-up for this maybe next week. So in case anyone has, someone is asking about the FIR mentorship. So maybe Lawrence, you can help them with that.
I've seen an amazing gentleman here. His name is Brian Nyali. I know he does DFR on daily basis, and I think he's amongst the best guys that we have locally. So from a mentorship point of view, I will try to have him tag team with me in the next session if Nancy's team will still have us. And if he's willing to take on mentors, that will be amazing. I'm happy to take on mentees, but there are some underlying issues that we need to agree together with those mentees. Long story short, I'm more than happy to help with the mentorship, pick up a few mentees here and there, and just share my knowledge, and also get to learn from the community.
Yeah, so Mercy, I hope that answers your question. You can reach out to Lawrence. Maybe you can share your socials. Maybe they can find a way to reach you after the session, but we'll definitely have you next week as well. How about ADP lists? Yeah, he's a mentor at ADP lists.
Oh, I'm also a mentor on ADP list. Yeah, so you can book us. You know, some days I'm not flexing, but I know my slots on ADP list are more or less booked for this month and a good part of next month. But based on the feedback I think I'm getting, especially from digital forensic point of view, it might be worthwhile for us to do this either as a community session with B-Sides Nairobi, where I'm a co-founder with SheHacks, and just involve more guys, because I know from B-Sides we have a lot of amazing guys who want to mentor. These are guys I even look up to, who are willing to mentor guys. So this is a SheHacks event. We'll work with the SheHacks team and see how best we can avail these resources in a manner that benefits a lot of people, and not just people who have direct access to some of us.
Okay, but if you need direct access, please see me Kando. I might be able to get you to Lawrence. So everyone is saying it was a great session. Well, someone has asked how you can get the recording. Well, this session is live on YouTube, which will still be available even after we end the session. So you can revert anytime on the SheHacks Kenya YouTube page anytime. So also to lean, if you may float kidogo, you can always revert. Yeah, you can actually suggest you revert before the next session. Yeah, so thank you so much everyone for joining in, and thank you, Lawrence. I think we've had quite the crowd today, which is amazing, meaning you carry the crowd. So thank you so much for making time to take us through today, and we're looking forward to the next one, the next session, which will be next week on Thursday, hopefully. Yes, so yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely night.
Thank you, guys. Have a lovely night. Bye.
Bye.